Everyone knew I had a childhood sweetheart I'd grown up deeply attached to. Everyone knew we were bound to end up together when we grew up. Our parents had arranged our engagement since we were little, and the business partnership between our two families had seeped into every aspect of our operations. But on the day of our wedding, my fiancée fled before the wedding procession even arrived, flying overseas to be with the man she'd fallen for out of nowhere. She was certain the Tang family was powerful and the Chun family was weak, that I wouldn't dare make a fuss. The relationship we'd built for over 20 years became nothing but gossip for people to laugh about over tea. I wore my signature smile and handled every detail of the wedding all by myself. On the most important day of my life, I became the laughingstock of the entire social circle. But I didn't care, because I knew that one day I'd get back every bit of the dignity I'd lost today with interest. On my wedding day, my own wife had flown halfway across the world to be with another man. I stared at the headline news on my phone with a blank expression, lighting cigarette after cigarette. Only the slight tremor in my hand when I struck the lighter gave away how hard I was trying to keep up appearances. Across from me sat both sets of parents. Uncle Tang had been yelling at Tang Kixin for half an hour straight, and he'd had to take 3 doses of quick-acting heart relief pills just to keep from fainting. Ding! My phone pinged twice in a row. One was from Tang Kexin. Chun Mo, we'll hold the wedding again when I get back. The other was a video someone had captured at the airport just now. She was wearing the custom wedding dress I'd commissioned personally. I'd traveled all the way to France and paid a fortune to have Master Nosi craft it by hand. On her wrist was the jade bracelet my mother had put on her herself, a gift for her future daughter-in-law. In the video she walked in a hurry, the joy on her face palpable even through the screen. I watched that video over and over dozens of times until I felt nothing at all. I told myself she was a smart woman. Before making this choice, she must have weighed every option carefully. So no matter what excuses she gave me when she came back, none of them would deserve my forgiveness. I took one last long drag of my cigarette and stepped in front of everyone. The auspicious hour is here. The wedding proceeds. That night, the story of the Tang family's eldest daughter running away from her wedding to meet her lover dominated every news headline. It stayed at the top of the trending search list for 5 straight days. Rumors spread like wildfire. The video of me going through the entire wedding ceremony alone was also dug up and circulated online. I became the butt of everyone's jokes, even turned into malicious memes mocking me as a cuckold. In just a few days, I'd become an internet celebrity. After everything that had happened, the Tang family owed me an explanation. To apologize, Uncle Tang held a banquet in my honor. It was also the day Tang Kexin was coming home, but she was nowhere to be seen even when the banquet began. Uncle Tang looked grim, but he forced a smile and raised his glass to me. Xiao Chun, this is all my fault for failing to raise her properly. You've been wronged. Let me toast you. He held up his glass with a grave expression, his words sounding more like a promise. You handled today with so much poise. Rest assured I will make this right. You are a son of the Tang family. That will never change. Having gotten the promise I wanted, I smiled and drained my glass in one go. Suddenly the door to the private room swung open. Tang Kexin walked in, looking worn out and haggard. The relaxed, pleasant atmosphere turned icy at once. Father and Mother Tang's faces darkened. My parents, meanwhile, kept their heads down, eating their food, and didn't so much as glance her way. Get over here. Father Tang forced the words out through gritted teeth, barely containing his rage. Looking at her distracted, lifeless state, he felt a surge of bitter disappointment. He grabbed her and pulled her over to stand beside me. Tang Kexin gave an apologetic smile. It looked painfully forced. Mom, Dad, Uncle, Auntie. I'm sorry. This was all my fault. As she spoke, she pulled a document out of her bag. I know there's a reason behind it, but I also know this has caused terrible damage. To make amends, this is my apology gift. On top of the thick stack of papers was a form. The words "Customs Clearance for Seized Shipment" printed in bold letters, and they felt like a knife to all of us. A shipment of ours bound for the U.S. had been seized at customs for unknown reasons a few days prior. My parents had bet almost everything the family owned on that shipment. The night we got the news, My father had been admitted to the ICU, and it had taken 3 hours to stabilize him. No one had expected Tang Kexin to go abroad and solve such a huge problem for us. That document was the key to forgiveness. Staring at the papers, my parents wore complicated expressions. Caught between the family business and the family's honor, they couldn't bring themselves to choose. Tang Kexin raised her glass with her usual smile. Father Tang hurried to chime in. Lao Chun, calm down. The girl did this for the good of both our families. Look, she solved your biggest problem just like that. Seeing the opening, everyone else followed suit to smooth things over. Cheers! Glasses clinked together, sending a delicate spray of wine into the air. No one dared mention the wedding fiasco. It was an unspoken agreement. I led Tang Kexin to the seat beside me, even thoughtfully helped her take off her coat. Kexin, this past week must have been hard on you. I handed her a piece of dessert casually. How's Bai Tang's health? Should I send someone to look after him? Has he been settling in well abroad? With every word I said, her face grew paler. Managing to take care of Bai Tang and solve our family's problems at the same time? You really went out of your way. Tang Kexin's smile froze completely. The atmosphere, which had just softened, plummeted back to freezing point. I pretended not to notice and kept talking as if nothing was wrong. Next time you can just tell me ahead of time. I'm not unreasonable. If you want to see him, I'd be willing to look the other way. He's doing fine abroad. His health is better. You don't have to worry about him. Tang Kexin forced another apologetic smile. Uncle, Auntie, I'm a little tired. I think I'll head home first to rest. We can talk about the wedding later. I'll find a way to smooth this whole thing over. With that, she stood up to leave. Slap. A bright red handprint bloomed across Tang Kexin's face. Father Tang was trembling with rage, glaring at her furiously. If you step out of this room today, you will never set foot in the group company again for as long as you live. At that, Tang Kexin didn't dare act out anymore. She bit the bullet and sat back down beside me. The rest of the banquet dragged on in an eerie, uncomfortable silence. Tang Kexin was on pins and needles. She tried to reach for her phone again and again, but I subtly stopped her every time. Watching her, I had a sinking feeling about what was coming. After dinner, both families walked outside together, chatting and laughing. On the surface, everything looked harmonious and happy. But in truth, the fragile peace was already hanging by a thread, ready to shatter at the slightest gust, just as I'd expected. Minutes later, that fragile piece was torn to shreds by a figure standing just outside the entrance. Bai Tang leaned against a tree, the faint glow of a cigarette flickering between his fingers. The moment he showed up, everything was already clear. After her initial panic, Tang Kexin quickly composed herself. She tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear and asked softly, "What are you doing down here? It's freezing outside. I left you the car keys, didn't I?" Even with her legal husband standing right there with her parents-in-law watching, she didn't bother hiding how much she cared about Bai Tang. I had to admit it. Dressed in a tailored suit, Bai Tang did look like a prince straight out of a Western fairy tale. Even I could admit he was unreasonably handsome. The onlookers said nothing, watching the farce unfold in silence. Tang Kexin walked over and took Bai Tang's hand. She didn't care at all about the scandal this would cause, or about saving face for either set of parents. And of course, her so-called husband was worth even less than nothing to her. For my part, I stood off to the side, not bothering to interfere. With someone who doesn't care about you, any reaction just makes you look more like a joke. Uncle, Auntie, long time no see. Bai Tang walked calmly over to the older couple and went on. This isn't Kexin's fault. If you don't want to see me, I can leave right now. No sooner had he spoken than Tang Kexin gripped his hand tighter, pressing close to him without a care for who saw. Father Tang trembled with rage, raising a hand to strike her, but Mother Tang stopped him. I'm giving you one chance to get rid of him. Tang Kexin shook her head firmly, her gaze turning cold. Mom, Dad, the biggest regret of my life was listening to you, and letting you tear Bai Tang and me apart for 5 years. I married Chun Mo like you told me to. From now on, I decide my own path. You two just enjoy your retirement. And don't try to threaten me with the group. The shareholders already back me taking over. Put simply, I run the Tang Group now. Father and Mother Tang were left speechless, struck dumb by her defiance. Having settled things with her own family, Tang Kexin turned her attention to mine. Uncle, I took care of that shipment for you. That's my good faith, and the foundation for our future cooperation. It was a compromise. And a threat, all in one. Finally she turned her eyes to me, her legal husband. Chan Mo, I've agreed to marry you. I hope you won't read too much into anything else. I'll play the part of Mrs. Chun properly. You can do whatever you want on the side. As long as you don't flaunt it in front of me, I'll look the other way. As for children, I'll allow you one illegitimate child. That's all. With that, she turned and left with Bai Tang, never looking back. Bai Tang glanced back at me with a taunting smile. Any other man would have snapped by now. But I kept my blank expression until Tang Kexin's car drove out of sight. I'd seen this coming ever since the banquet. I calmly set about cleaning up the mess Tang Kexin had left behind. Everyone knew Tang Kexin and I were neighbors, and childhood sweethearts on top of that. When we were little, we'd spent almost every day together playing side by side. Our grandfathers had been comrades in arms, and our parents had known each other since they were young. Nearly 40 years of partnership had bound our two families together inextricably, each a vital part of the other's business. That's why we'd been betrothed since birth, and why we'd both been raised to take over the group one day. We went to different universities. That was where she met Bai Tang. And so began the tired old cliché, the childhood sweetheart standing no chance against the sudden new flame. The Tang family did everything to bury the relationship. Father Tang, ever ruthless and decisive, stepped in and forcefully put an end to their romance. After that, Tang Kexin grew quiet and withdrawn, and treated me coldly. The Tang family thought they'd covered it all up, never realizing I'd known everything from the start. After graduating from college, we each took over our family businesses. On the day of our engagement, I even sat Tang Kexin down for a long, honest talk. She was a girl I'd watched grow up after all. I didn't want things to turn ugly down the line. Kexin, I won't stand in your way. If you need help with anything, I'm here. We'd known each other for over 20 years. Seeing an old friend pursue her happiness freely felt like something to be happy about. But she shook her head firmly. Chan Mo, Bai Tang is in the past. We've known each other for over 20 years. You're the only man I'll ever marry. Her heartfelt confession caught me off guard. A warm feeling rushed through my chest, like the thin wall between us was finally starting to fade away. Yet that promise didn't even last a few days before it became completely worthless. It was a habit I'd had since childhood, rarely showing my emotions openly. My parents, barely containing their rage, stared daggers at Father and Mother Tang. That cold silence hurt worse than any scolding. What was supposed to be an apology dinner had turned into a total farce. The Chun family's dignity had been trampled into the dirt all over again. I didn't see Tang Kexin again for days. The wedding house I'd poured so much money into felt like nothing more than a cage I'd built for myself. They'd been apart for so long. A few days was never going to be enough for them. Our social circle was small. News like this didn't need to be sought out. It always found its way to your ears. Tang Kexin and Bai Tang had moved in together. She'd even bought a villa out in the open, and they were already renovating it with great fanfare. It was clear she didn't care one bit about saving the Chun family any face. Tang Kexin, I gave you a chance. You turned it down. I tossed the photo aside, my eyes cold. The final outcome was far from decided. Mr. Chun, this is too much. You've become the laughing stock of the whole circle. Is that so? I leaned back in my office chair, eyes closed. Everything that had happened lately had left me exhausted. Get that shipment processed and out as fast as possible. We paid too high a price for that contract to let it go to waste. As for Tang Kexin, let her do as she pleases. What? My assistant couldn't wrap her head around my reaction. Everyone knew how much I valued my reputation. Mr. Chun, if this goes on, it'll hurt the group too. I waved a hand, cutting her off. Her own parents couldn't control her. What could I possibly do? And as for the partnership between our two families, that wasn't her call to make. Truth be told, I wasn't the most anxious one right now. That was Bai Tong, the man everyone was overlooking. I knew he wouldn't be able to resist coming to find me. Sure enough, a few days later, Bai Tang showed up. After all, no one would pass up a chance to climb the social ladder and become a man of means. No man worth his salt would be content being the other man forever. I never understood how a smart woman like Tang Kexin could fall for a man with so little sense. Bai Tang looked at me arrogantly, the sneer on his face plain for all to see. Tst, Bai, you've been enjoying my wife's company these past few days, I take it. My tone didn't shift an inch, like I was commenting on something trivial and unimportant. Bai Tang smiled faintly and deliberately lifted his wrist to show off an expensive watch. I recognized it. Tang Kexin had commissioned it specially, saying it was a gift for the man she loved. Mr. Chun, the one who isn't loved, is the real third party. You only managed to tear us apart because of your childhood history and your family's influence. If you ask me, you're the pathetic one. Your wife has been with me this whole time. As long as I say the word you, I'll be wearing those horns forever. He was unbearably smug, every word dripping with sarcasm. Looking at his gloating, self-satisfied face, I actually laughed. He was almost endearing in how foolish he was. After a good laugh, I couldn't resist bursting his little bubble. Mr. Bai, why do you think she suddenly found out where you were right before the wedding? Haven't you ever wondered about that? His face fell instantly. He stared at me tensely. Even he wasn't stupid enough to miss that something was off. For years he'd tried everything to get in touch with her, and failed. And now, out of nowhere, right at this delicate moment, they'd accidentally reunited. He wasn't a total idiot. Even if the Chun family was on the decline, he was no match for us, let alone the Tang family combined. With both families' power, there was no way Tang Kexin would ever have found him on her own. After a long moment he looked up at me, pale as a sheet, and utterly disbelieving. Why, marriage is sacred. I had to be 100% sure my wife would be faithful to me. Clearly she failed the test. I tossed him a cigarette, a silent gesture to calm his nerves. Right now I'm Tang Kexin's legal husband. That title is all I need. You just stay in your lane as the other man and drop those ridiculous fantasies of yours. Having his delusions shattered sent Bai Tang into a rage. You're just a spineless little joke. Being a woman's plaything in bed is all you'll ever amount to. The meeting ended on bitter terms. Tang Kexin still didn't come home in the days that followed. And I was perfectly fine with that. A week later, I finally got some good news. Bai Tang refused to settle for being a kept man. He was dead set on making a name for himself. God knows what sweet lies he told, but he'd somehow talked Tang Kexin into investing in him. When I heard, I could only shake my head. Women in love really were fools. Everyone has to pay for their choices. Tang Kexin, once a formidable force in the business world, was one step away from falling from grace entirely. Gradually, I wasn't the only one being laughed at. Tang Kexin, once a business legend, had become the favorite topic of gossip over every dinner table. Plenty of people were placing bets on when we'd get divorced. Keeping a mistress was nothing out of the ordinary in our circles, but a public falling out this messy? No one had ever seen anything like it. The next time I saw Tang Kexin was when our two families jointly won the bid for the municipal stadium project. As the future landmark of the capital, it had drawn nationwide attention from the very start. The signing ceremony was a grand affair. As the actual heads of our respective groups, we were expected to attend in full formal attire. To my surprise, Bai Tang wasn't by her side. How rare to see you without Mr. Bai at your side. My sarcastic remark made her face harden. But she had no right to be angry. His business is just getting off the ground. There's a lot he has to handle himself. She walked over to me smoothly, slipped her arm through mine, and fussed with my clothes in a placating gesture. Today is a milestone for both our families. I want my husband by my side. I didn't pull my arm away, but my smile was distant and polite. Ms. Tang, in public you should call me Mr. Chun. And as for husband, I think there's someone else who fits that title better than I do. Her smile froze. Chun Mo, actually. She never got to finish. A municipal official cut her off, and we were escorted up to the stage by the staff. With the host's announcement, the signing ceremony officially began. We walked toward the stage together, looking every bit the perfect, elegant couple. We smiled through the whole process, working in perfect sync, chatting warmly and amicably with the officials. Of course, there were a few small hiccups along the way. Tang Kexon's phone rang suddenly. She frowned at the screen, hesitated, then declined the call. But for the rest of the ceremony, her phone buzzed non-stop. I glanced at the name on the screen and my smile grew more genuine. Ms. Tang, you and Mr. Bai really are inseparable, aren't you? Can't even go a few minutes without missing each other. The whole signing ceremony wrapped up to the constant hum of her vibrating phone. After the formalities, we went over to thank the officials, as was expected, to stay in their good graces. Tang Kexon slipped her arm through mine again, doing her best to keep up the appearance of a loving couple. Image was everything when working with the government. Any bad press could sink the whole partnership. So far at least, everything was going smoothly. Just when I thought the ceremony would wrap up without a hitch, a staff member rushed in and whispered something in the official's ear. The official's face darkened at once, and the atmosphere in the room grew heavy. Mr. Chun, Ms. Tang, there's been a small complication. Please handle it first, or we'll have to put the cooperation on hold. The staff member held up a phone. On the screen was Bai Tang surrounded by a crowd of people. Do you know who I am? In the video, Bai Tang was hysterical, trapped in a car, lurching back and forth trying to break through the crowd. My wife is Tang Kexon. My wife is Tang Kexon. You're all liars. You stole my money. You all deserve to die. Bai Tang's phone suddenly rang. Tang Kexon couldn't stop herself from calling him. Bai Tang, calm down. Don't be scared. I'll handle everything. Just go home first, wait for me to get back. Her voice was soft, but the exhaustion underneath was impossible to hide. But Bai Tang wouldn't listen. When he heard my voice in the background, he grew even more unhinged. Tang Kexon, why is Chanmo with you? Have you fallen for him? His voice was thick with rage and despair. You knew I was in trouble. You saw my calls and you didn't answer. Instead you went to see Chanmo. What is wrong with you? You promised me you wouldn't see him. Are you cheating on me? Are you? Answer me. Tang Kexon bit back her anger and kept her voice gentle, trying to soothe him. Bai Tang, today's a very important project signing. I promised I wouldn't see Chanmo, and I'll keep that promise. Just go home first, wait for me. I don't believe you. Not unless you divorce him and marry me. The corner of my mouth tugged up in a faint smile. Now the real show was starting. An awkward silence fell over the venue. The crowd, which had been in such high spirits just moments ago, froze where they stood, their faces grim. The official standing nearby let out a cold huff and turned on his heels, storming off. Tang Kexon finally realized how serious things were. For the first time, she set aside her pride and snapped sharply, Bai Tang, I'm telling you one last time, go home and wait for me. Or you can get the hell back abroad. That rebuke was the final straw for Bai Tang, who was already on the brink of breaking. Ignoring the crowd blocking his path, he slammed on the gas and charged forward. The video shook violently. When the picture steadied again, the scene was a nightmare of wailing and suffering, with countless people lying on the ground, their fates unknown. My face darkened. His reckless act would spell disaster for both the Tang and Chun families. Over the phone came Bai Tang's panicked voice. Kexon, I'm sorry. I just love you so much. I was so scared of losing you. You'll forgive me, right? After her initial burst of anger, Tang Kexon's tone softened into obvious concern. Bai Tang, are you okay? Are you hurt? I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. I silently scorned the foolish woman. Thank goodness she wasn't in love with me. She'd drag me to an early grave. But the mess still needed to be cleaned up, and fast. I sighed and clapped a hand on Tang Kexon's trembling shoulder. Bai Tang's company is a subsidiary of the Tang Group. If we don't handle an accident this serious immediately, the consequences will be unthinkable. Maybe my words got to him because Bai Tang started laying it on even thicker. It's all my fault, Kexon. I've disgraced you. I just wanted to prove myself. I didn't want people saying you'd settled for a loser. I know I've messed up big time. I'll go throw myself into the sea right now. I'll atone with my life. With that, he hit the gas again. The roar of the engine boomed through the phone. I never thought such a childish trick would work so perfectly on Tang Kexin. Bai Tang, where are you? I'm coming to find you right now. Without a second thought for everyone still at the ceremony, she ran straight for the exit. Over her shoulder she called back to me, Chun Mo, handle things here for now. Watching her hurry away, I was speechless. I couldn't help but think, heaven may be merciful but you reap what you sow. The ripple effects of the accident hit fast. First, stock prices for both our groups plummeted, and investors flooded in with angry calls demanding answers. Second, Tang Kexin's reputation was in total ruins. Even after the Tang family reached out to the injured and offered compensation, it did nothing to fix the damage. Finally, the media blew the story wide open, and one partner after another terminated their contracts with both our families. I set everything else aside and threw myself into cleaning up the mess. After getting in touch with Father Tang and securing his authorization, I publicly took charge of the entire situation in my capacity as the Tang Group's son-in-law. I visited the injured, arranged for compensation and funerals, worked with the media, and negotiated with the authorities. For 3 straight days I barely slept, and finally I'd managed to contain the fallout as much as possible. In those 3 days, my competence and sense of responsibility earned everyone's respect. On the 4th day, I finally collapsed onto my desk and fell into a deep, exhausted sleep. When I opened my eyes again, Tang Kexin was curled up on the sofa nearby, looking worn out. Her hair was a mess, her makeup was half gone, and she looked utterly drained. I frowned, mentally cursing the security guards for letting her in. Chun Mo. Her voice was hoarse, nothing like the clear, crisp tone she'd had before. Bai Tang's been arrested. The unexpected good news took a little weight off my tired shoulders. Tang Kexin, you made your own bed. She looked up at me, opening her mouth like she wanted to say something, but I held up a hand to stop her. Neither of us owes the other anything. Like you said, you're Mrs. Chin. That's all. The next day I went to see Father Tang. In just over a month he was a shadow of his former self. He'd wasted away to skin and bones, and there was a faint, defeated air about him. Tang Kexin was kneeling off to the side, but no one paid her any mind. Even Mother Tang, who'd always had a soft heart, wore a dark, bitter expression. When I walked in, Mother Tang grabbed my hand tight. She didn't say a word, she just cried and cried. I hurried to comfort her, and slowly both of them calmed down a little. Just then another twist came. Tang Kexin's phone rang. She hesitated, then answered, trying to keep her voice down, but we heard every word clearly. Hello, this is the detention center. Are you a family member of Bai Tang? At those words, Tang Kexin's face drained of color, and she hurried out of the hospital room. Father Tang saw it all, roared ungrateful child a few times, and fainted from rage. The medical staff rushed to his side at once. This was beyond what I could fix. Family problems had to be sorted out by the family. My silence only made Mother Tang feel more ashamed. The room fell into an even heavier awkwardness, no one knowing what to say. Just then an assistant came rushing in. It's bad news. Father Tang had woken up just then, and he chided weakly, don't carry on like that. Calm down and speak properly. The assistant took 3 deep breaths and said slowly, the municipal government called. They said this incident has had an extremely bad impact. They're demanding that whoever's backing Bai Tang step down, and that we hold a press conference to publicly apologize and give the public answers. Otherwise, we'll be barred from all government projects from now on. Before the assistant even finished, Father Tang's emotions boiled over again. Overcome with rage, he fainted a second time. That afternoon, the Tang Group held an emergency shareholders meeting. From his hospital bed, Father Tang put forward a proposal to appoint me as CEO of the Tang Group. To no one's surprise, the motion passed, and I got the official notice that night. Tang Kexin had lost all control of the group. She knelt outside the hospital room begging for days, but all she got in return was cold indifference. 3 more days passed, and I had the Tang Group fully under my control. Late on the 4th night, I got an unexpected call from Tang Kexin. I glanced at the screen and ignored it, going back to the documents in front of me. Tang Kexin had been so wrapped up in her affair with Bai Tang that she'd let piles of company work fall by the wayside. That was one reason no one had objected to replacing her as CEO. Everyone was fed up with her. The calls kept coming, one after another, like she'd never stop until I answered. I rubbed my temples and picked up. What is it? No one spoke at first, only heavy breathing came through the line. Chun Mo. She was clearly very drunk, her words slurred. You know I love you. Can you forgive me? Just this once? While she talked, I finished reviewing another contract. Her begging didn't move me at all. If anything, it turned my stomach. You know I'm a clean person by nature. I've never so much as touched a hair on your head. I find you unclean. There was a long silence on the other end. When Tang Kexin spoke again, her tone was humble, all trace of drunkenness gone. We've known each other for over 20 years. 20 years of history, which is why you're Mrs. Chen. My words closed off every last escape for her. The answer must have cut deep, because I heard her break down crying on the other end. I just sent you something. You should look at it. The crying faded, replaced by a savage, almost demonic snarl. Chan Mo, you knew all along, didn't you? You planned this whole thing. I hung up without hesitation. Please. My time was far too valuable to waste arguing with a hysterical woman. What I'd sent her was the full record of Bai Tang's accomplishments abroad all those years. After he'd been sent overseas, he'd blown through every cent Father Tang had given him in barely 6 months. To fund his lifestyle, he'd become a kept man for a wealthy older woman. Later, to gain her trust, he'd even married her, never mind that she was 80 years old. But he'd been outplayed. Every penny of her fortune was controlled by her son. Late that night, when I'd finished the last document, I leaned back in my chair and stretched. I tossed the last of her personal belongings into the trash, marking the final end of her time here. I gave you a chance. You threw it away. Don't blame me. Another sunny afternoon. With nothing better to do, I drove to the detention center to see my benefactor. It was clear he wasn't doing well. He looked listless and broken. But when he saw me, his eyes blazed with rage. Chan Mo, what are you here for? To gloat? I shook my head, an amused smile playing on my lips. You're the one who did me a favor. Without you, I never would have taken control of the Tang group, or put that lunatic Tang Kexin in her place. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and showed him a video footage of Tang Kexin at the airport. I could have stopped her from getting on that plane with one word. That day was her last chance. Bai Tang's face went deathly pale. Why would you set me up? Did you leak Tang Kexin's location to me on purpose? To make me go after her? The answer was obvious. It had all been a test of loyalty and they'd both failed. He knew the truth now, but it was far too late. He'd spend the rest of his life paying for his own foolishness. And those people who scammed me abroad? That was you too? And my company? That was all a setup? The more he hated me, the more satisfied I felt. This was a game for the wealthy, and some nobody had thought he could waltz in and play. Who else was I supposed to take advantage of? Chan Mo, you'll get what's coming to you. He shook the bars of his cell wildly, completely unhinged. The guards rushed over and pinned him down. All I did was love Tang Kexin. And you set me up like this? You'll pay for this. Watching him rave like that, the last of the heavy weight in my chest finally lifted. You knew full well she had a fiancé, and still tried to steal her away. This day was always going to come. I'd gotten what I came for. I waved a hand and turned to leave. Back in the car, my assistant couldn't hold back her curiosity any longer. Mr. Chun, how were you so sure they'd take the bait? Desire. I lit a cigarette and took a long drag. Especially Tang Kexin. She's never wanted for anything her whole life. Now that she has the power to get what she wants, that desire just keeps growing and growing. Even if she ends up disappointed, she has to find out for herself. Bai Tang's even simpler. Things weren't going well for him abroad, and then his first love, who's still hung up on him, and a wealthy tycoon on top of that, shows up. Of course he'd cling to her for dear life. In the days that followed, I threw all my energy into running both groups. Under my direction, the merger between the two gradually took shape. After one blow after another, Tang Kexin finally gave up and moved back into our wedding house. I knew she still held out hope, still wanted to fix something. What she did was her business. But once she moved in, I never went back there again. A year flew by. The two groups merged completely. The combined company rose to new heights, becoming one of the leading industry giants in the entire country. My abilities and achievements had fully cemented my position, earning the praise of every investor. Not even Father Tang had the power to challenge me anymore. Half a month later, Bai Tang was released. Unsurprisingly, the two of them met up again. Tang Kexin stormed straight into my office with Bai Tang in tow, followed by 7 or 8 bodyguards who looked thoroughly uncomfortable. After all, she was still my wife on paper. They didn't dare lay a hand on her. You may go. The bodyguards looked relieved and hurried out. Tang Kexin stared at me through tear-filled eyes, her voice shaking. Chan Mo, tell me it's not true. Behind her, Bai Tang held his head high, looking smug and triumphant. I closed the file in my hand and looked at her calmly. I don't know what he told you, but if he didn't exaggerate, then yes, it's true. Tang Kexin's vision went dark. She stumbled, nearly falling to the floor. Bai Tang reached out to steady her, but she brushed him off coldly. Why? There was nothing but dead emptiness in her eyes. In her mind, I loved her. I'd always cared for her, protected her, cherished her, ever since we were kids. You said you'd protect me forever. Did you forget? She rambled incoherently, repeating over and over that it couldn't be true. I listened in silence for a long time, saying nothing. When she realized her act wasn't working, she dropped the pretense. Chan Mo, so you were lying to me from the very beginning, weren't you? Even now she was still trying to blame everything on me. I took a sip of tea to calm my anger and asked casually, that customs incident last year, that nearly ruined my family? That was you, wasn't it? You wanted to get leverage over me so you could take over the Chun family's business. All the color drained from her face. I knew Bai Tang was the one you'd always loved. I knew you two were in love. That's why I asked you before the wedding. Do you remember what you said? I don't get off on breaking people up. And I never wanted to marry a woman who was in love with someone else. Our marriage was just a promise from our parents' generation. Back then, there were hundreds of ways we could have ended things peacefully. I drained my teacup. But you? You said yes to my face, and then you made a laughingstock out of me in front of everyone. Remembering the humiliation of those days, I clenched my fist. I never hurt you once in all the years we grew up together. My parents treated you like their own daughter. And you still tried to swallow up the Chun family. I gave you a way out. But you chose to marry me anyway. Wasn't that exactly what you were after? A faint, mocking smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Well, you got your wish. The Tang and Chun families are one. We're married, and you get to be with the man you love. Everyone wins. Perfect, isn't it? Tang Kexin had no retort left. She collapsed onto the floor. You knew everything this whole time. Then why did you agree to marry me? I shrugged. You wanted the Chun family's company. I wanted the Tangs. So we played to see who'd come out on top. Looks like I won. Then I had the bodyguards escort them out. Now that everything was out in the open, I doubted she'd have the face to stay any longer. Bai Tang, seeing that Tang Kexin had lost all her power and there was nothing left to gain from her, tried to sneak out of town that same night. The second he stepped onto the train, my people were already waiting for him. This little trip, I thought, would be one he'd never forget. I thought Tang Kexin would lie low after that. But 3 days later I ran into her downstairs at the company. She was wearing the dress I'd given her years ago, and the beaded bracelet I'd woven for her when we were kids. For a split second, I felt a flicker of something like nostalgia. Chun Mo, I know I was wrong. Forgive me just this once. I'll help you run the company, I swear. I'll be the wife you deserve. I waved a hand, signaling the people with me to go on ahead. Where are all those manners you were taught? You dare go out in public wearing that? If you need money, just say the word. I won't let you want for anything. We'll be a polite, proper couple. But don't get any foolish ideas in your head. Whatever you do on your own time, keep it away from me. Or I'll divorce you to protect the company's reputation. With that, I got into the waiting car and drove away, leaving Tang Kexin standing there frozen in place. This story warns everyone that neither love nor partnership can tolerate half-heartedness. Those who try to have everything will lose everything in the end. Knowing she loved another man, the heroine agreed to a marriage for benefits. After marriage, she repeatedly harmed both families' businesses and trampled on her husband's dignity for her old flame. Though the husband tolerated out of past affection at first, he made calm plans once he saw she would never repent. He protected the family business and took back full control. Obsessed with both love and gains, the two brought about one disaster after another, ruining their careers and reputations. It tells us sincerity and loyalty are the foundation of all relationships. Scheming for selfish gains will only backfire. Only by waking up and cutting losses in time can we safeguard ourselves and our family's fortunes.